Hello and welcome to Top of Mind with Ann and Rachel. Thanks for joining us on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday. And my name is Rachel Prophet. I am a white woman with long red hair that's down today. I'm wearing my rose-colored glasses and a purple sleeveless shirt. And I'm in my office, but I don't have my usual sticker wall behind me today. I've got my family tartan. Ann, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ann Krupke. I'm a senior fast track solution architect at Microsoft. My pronouns are she, her. I am a white woman with brown hair that's in a bun today. I've got a purple sweatshirt on and a virtual background.
So we promised that today was going to be the day that we talk about the release wave notes for Dynamics 365. For those of you that aren't aware, they were released on the 18th last week. I don't remember what day of the week that was, but super exciting stuff. If you haven't already seen the release notes, we are actually going to share our screen and show you all of this. So, and we'll put the link in on the screen for you as well. Let me just do that really quickly. So if you want to follow along with us while we review some of these, here's your link to get to the, oops, I got to click on it. There we go. There's a link to get out there. And let me go ahead and share my screen so you guys can all see it and follow along with me. I want this screen. There we go. All this clicking to add it to the screen. All right, so when you first land on the release notes, you're going to see it's broken up by the different release waves. So what we're going to really dive in today is the release wave 2 for 2023 and the Dynamics 365 side. But you can also drill down into the Power Platform or the Cloud for Industry features if you're curious about what's going to be in those plans. And there's a lot. I was actually going through these in a little bit more detail yesterday to kind of prepare for today's session. And it's a little bit overwhelming. I actually downloaded the PDF. I mean, and it's like 400 pages long. That's a lot.
Yeah, we are doing a lot in all the different areas in BizApps. It's really exciting to see just the different things that we're choosing to invest in these days.
Yeah. So when you first kind of land on the release plans, they give you a really high level overview of each of the different products and kind of what is being focused in. I don't know, Andrew, did you have a favorite or one that you're most excited about?
Well, I'm biased because supply chain is my specialty, but actually, there is one that I'm super excited about. RMAs through the warehousing app. So if you're familiar with advanced warehousing in the past, you haven't been able to do sales order returns receiving through the warehouse app. It's had to be a completely external process done in the regular user interface, and we're adding it as functionality in the warehousing app. So that's to me, that's huge. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think that's an awesome one. I think it's hard for me to pick. I could almost I feel like I could maybe pick one for each product. So
Yeah.
I think the big one for finance, which is kind of a cross product, but this initial release is really more finance focused, is the business process analytics. Let me see if I can find it on here. And then because there was a bunch of screenshots
Is that what
related.
we've been calling XP&A?
No, it's different.
Okay.
So it might be, I don't remember if it's underneath
Is it
finance
under
or if it
core
was underneath.
financials?
Um
Try
it
core
might
financials.
be, yeah. Nope, it's not here. I think it might be underneath. Oh, here it is. It is underneath there. It's just at the bottom. Business performance analytics. So this new feature, there's a lot, and you can see there's 3 or 4 different features that go along with it. It is already in public preview, but we're not expecting to go GA until next year. And so they're continuing to add to this functionality. But the idea is that you can build both financial and non-financial or operational type reports on this new framework. So it uses the new Synops link, which is another one of those cross-platform things. So like instead of the export to Azure Data Lake, we're transitioning to the Synops link. But this is all built on top of this. And so out of the box, we're delivering a bunch of new reporting features, and it's all built on top of Excel. So we all know that accountants love to use Excel and to build these reports, but you can build reports on top of Power BI with it. But these are some examples. These screenshots that you see here are samples of the out-of-the-box reports that you're going to get with the new reporting hub. All the out-of-the-box reports for this initial release are finance related, but they're going to extend the data models, and you can actually extend them yourself to add your SCM or your project operations or any data that you want into this new tool.
So that leads me to ask, anytime we do a new reporting thing, especially in finance, does this replace something like management reporter, financial report? I can't remember what we call it in F&O, but
it's called financial reporter. A lot of people, I think, still call it management reporter. I think the long-term goal is that this would replace that. It can be a replacement for it.
Okay, but we haven't announced deprecation or anything.
No. And I think, right, you know, we tend to kind of baby step in, and we're giving you some out of the box reports and some extensibility. But I think, you know, it's one of those features that it's going to take some time to build up and really get it to where we want it to be holistically across finance, supply chain, project operations, et cetera. And so this is kind of step one. You know, to your question, right, you asked about the XP&A, which we announced in a blog. Georg announced that, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago. But there's not a lot of details about what's going on with XP&A in the release notes. So I think we need to invite someone to come from the product team to talk more about it. So hopefully we'll get someone in the next couple of weeks to shed some more light on that. So
and if you're watching this and you have a feature that you want us to highlight a little bit more on one of these broadcasts, let us know in the comments, and we can see if we can find someone from the product team who wants to come talk about what they're working on that.
Yeah. So I think the one that you were talking about, Anne, was underneath the warehouse management, and it's this optimize the customer returns process.
That's the one.
So that's the one that Anne was just kind of highlighting. Maybe so project operations. If I was to pick something in here, I think it's hard for me to pick, because I think there's two that are really big, and like the one of them I passed already, and it's the budgeting, but the other one that I'm looking for is the new mobile device that was just released.
Oh, for the like timesheet entry or expensing?
Yeah, so there's the expense mobile app offers intuitive, like, so this is that new mobile app experience.
And that's Power Platform based, right?
It's all built on Power Apps. So
awesome.
I think they just did a tech talk on it, like, and you can get into that preview program if you're interested in it. It's a private preview, but they did a tech talk on it like a week or two ago. Did some demos of it. Super cool stuff, like really nice experience, all built in the Power Platform. So I don't know, like on Project Ops, I would pick probably one or the other. Some of this new budgeting stuff, though, like there's a couple in here that are related to budgeting, I think are super exciting. So it's budgeting, I think, has been one of those big asks around project operations. I think on human resources, the one that I would pick, and it doesn't have its own page, but they talk about it a little bit in the summary. Maybe it was in the overview where they talk about it. And they talk about it in the video as well, and kind of talk about it. It's this improved recruiting experience. So there's like that is all built on the Power Platform as well, this new recruiting experience. If you remember the old like talent that we used to have with the recruiting stuff that was in the Power Platform. It's very similar to that. So like they're bringing some of that back in and doing a bunch of work to like integrate it all in a better, more, standard way, like that you would build those Power Platforms. So there's just so many.
I think we should also
supply
talk
chain,
about,
sir?
can you go back to finance and supply chain and let's talk about finance and operations cross app.
Yeah.
So first of all, One Dynamics, One Platform is a phrase that if you aren't familiar with, you should definitely get familiar with it. And I think we did a tech talk on that not too long ago, which talks about the idea. But if you don't know, the plan is ultimately that all Dynamics apps are on the same platform, which is Dataverse. So finance and operations, some of project ops and HR are all on what we call the F&O platform. But ultimately, the plan is to be all on the same platform. And you'll see in our releases that we're continuing to do different structural things to achieve that. And the thing that we are doing, this is what you were just talking about, the export to data lake is transitioning to the Synapse link for Dataverse. So making a more streamlined experience for accessing your data especially when you use multiple Dynamics products.
Yeah. And so like that Synapse link for the Dataverse has been around for a while. If you're using any of the like marketing, sales, field service, customer service, etc. So it's the same Synapse link in the Dataverse that they're using. And like that's what's making all this new data lake for F&O work. So it's a big deal. It's a lot of more like technical behind the scenes stuff that we're doing, but definitely very cool stuff.
Totally.
I was going to ask you, like what's going on with Supply Chain Center? Do you know like anything cool happening there?
So first of all, if you're not familiar with Microsoft Supply Chain Center, you should read through all of it in the overview. But if you are familiar with IOM, that's been rolled into Supply Chain Center. So of course we have additional improvements planned for IOM. And then Microsoft Supply Chain Center is another app in our BizApp suite, and it's based on the Dataverse platform already. So the idea is by being based on the Dataverse platform, you can connect to all of your supply chain tools, whether it's Dynamics SCM, SAP, Oracle, a third-party warehousing system, whatever it is you're using, you can connect it to Supply Chain Center and have this tool that works with all of your supply chain systems. I think if you look at supply and demand insights, there's some interesting stuff going on there.
Which one is that?
Carrot below.
Oh, this is the bottom one. Yeah, I see it there.
So Network Inventory Optimization app is one that I would keep my eye on. And the idea here is, if you're familiar kind of with how SCM does planning, when you have demand and you need to figure out how you're going to fulfill it, it's very granular and it's all driven based off of item coverage. And the idea with the inventory optimization app is being able to do a lot more intelligent reorganization of your inventory, looking at your whole network. Yeah, you can see here this idea that inventory lives in different points of the supply chain. It lives in different locations, and there are multiple ways to rearrange the inventory in your network for the best result. So this network inventory optimization app, I have no details of how it actually works, but the problem that it's positioning to solve is a really interesting one, and it is a gap as far as it goes into Dynamics SCM. So I'm really excited to see what we're coming out with here.
That's cool. Like they're going to integrate with transportation providers as well. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. I did spend some time looking through the CE ones, and I just feel like Copilot, you get a Copilot, you get a
Which is exciting,
Copilot.
right?
Everybody gets a Copilot. There's so many Copilots.
Yeah.
So like if you're more on the CE side, like have a look at some of this. There's a lot of really great stuff happening underneath all, like, so you can see there's a whole section for Copilots. Look at this. Like marketing has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different Copilots that they're bringing. Sales, if we expand that, they've got a whole section for Copilots. Like they've got like 6 or 7 in there, like so many Copilots. And I think Copilots are super exciting. If you don't really know what a Copilot is, it's the idea of like taking ChatGPT and that idea that you can ask it questions and have it help you. But it's still user assisted. So it's not like full on automation where like the AI is just doing the task for you. The idea is that you've got, you know, the AI there to help you, but there's still a human behind it who can edit it and tweak it.
It's kind of like having a junior coworker, right? It's like, you know, they go off and they'll draft something, but you as their senior need to review it and edit it before you send out, right? Like,
except it's like instantaneous.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to
it's so cool. I've been using Copilots and ChatGPT and Bing Chat, and there's a lot of like the Copilot buttons like in Teams and SharePoint already, and I've been using them to help with my day-to-day tasks, and it's amazing. And so as we introduce more of these into these day-to-day tasks, super, super cool stuff.
Yeah, I think like a really interesting application is within Dynamics 365 customer service.
Is it one of these?
Yes, this one. So you basically like discovered knowledge content with Copilot is probably the one that I'm thinking of. But the idea is if you're a support agent, like think about the people who work for like Comcast support, right? They get a ticket that gets submitted, and with you know the fact that how many people in the US, what percentage of the US uses Comcast, right? Think about how many thousands or millions of tickets that they get. And if you have a new service agent who maybe doesn't know all the answers yet, then they might have to spend several hours kind of digging through previous cases to find a related one and then use that content to try to handle the case. But with Copilot, it can look through all of that, all of this data, this knowledge that you have developed as you've closed tickets historically. It can look through all of that and then say, I found some similar cases. Here is, yeah, exactly. Here are some of the options for what you can do. And then you can just say, yep, share that immediately, or you could edit kind of it'll templatize a response for you. And then you can either edit it and send it or just send it if it looks good to you. So it's really exciting to reduce the amount of time that you spend solving tickets, and then it additionally helps build this kind of more concentrated knowledge base within your system. So yeah, I think Copilot in general is really exciting. There is actually one in F&O in procurement, which you can try out now. Yep.
Okay, so that's underneath finance and supply chain, and then
supply
SCM,
chain,
and
Copilot
then
and AI. Copilot and AI.
Oh, here we go. It's its own, yeah.
Yeah. So this one is actually something. There is a feature. I think it's in the .35 release notes if you want to go find it. But you can actually set this up and test it in a sandbox now. And there's a new workspace that lets you look at changes to data that have happened. So for example, if the date on a purchase order has changed, it helps you estimate the impact of the change. So looking at what that purchase order is feeding into, like a sales order or production order, and then the value of that impact, if it's monetary or quantity or whatever. I haven't looked at it a ton, but we are bringing that into F&O. If you're an F&O user, know that we are doing things there. And this is just the start of that for sure.
Super cool stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is. mean, HR,
We didn't look at.
we didn't touch it. Well, I guess I
No,
kind
we
of talked
did.
about a little bit about
We haven't looked at commerce
the
though.
recruiting. Commerce. Yeah, commerce has a pretty good list too. They've
They've
got a
got
couple
Copilot.
of co-pilots as well. And theirs are more co-pilots to help you with your whole setup process. So it's more targeted at the admins who are trying to set up a new store. I don't know, like if you're familiar at all with like setting up a new retail store or an online channel, like there's a lot of steps involved and a lot of network and complex steps to go through. And the idea is that this guides you through it and helps you do those setup steps. So that's a super cool.
I've seen too a lot of use cases where Copilot helps you write like copy, essentially, like product descriptions or other like marketing copy, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's really great when you're trying to write something. I feel like that's the biggest application people. I mean, when you look at what people use ChatGPT for, it's writing emails or writing summaries or essays. It's super helpful in helping you write better. And you can see that a lot where we plugged it in.
So like on the digital commerce side, like we introduced the B2B portal, which is like, so when we think of like the online store, like the traditional like consumer website, it was originally designed really just for like retail type customers that have consumers go visit. But there's a lot of retailers that do business to business. That might not really tag themselves as being in the retail industry. They might be manufacturing, they might be in other types of industries. And so that B2B portal is a way that you can actually work with the businesses that you're selling to. So like if you're a manufacturer and you don't sell to the end consumers, you sell to businesses, that B2B portal, which we introduced last year, is kind of like what that whole digital commerce section is about. And you can see that we've got a handful of features where we're improving that whole process around how to roll out, to the B2B portals.
And in my experience, you can actually have a retailer who does sell to both channels. Like they might have a storefront where consumers can come, but you're going to do a whole different set of kind of interactions when it's business to business instead of business to consumer. So you might.
And the great
even
thing
have
is that we
different
support
e-commerce.
both. Like you can have different experiences. Like, so if you go to the site as a consumer, you get one look and feel and one set of pricing and one set of functionality. But if you go to the site as a business and sign in, you're going to get a different like site and a different look and feel, which is super cool. There's like, honestly too, like looking through like on like finance, there was like, if you're an international or global company, there are so many new country specific features and we're expanding into a bunch of countries.
LATAM gets like a bunch of localizations, I think, in wave 2 of this year.
And e-invoicing is kind of like, it's a lot of countries are adding requirements around this. So like if you're doing business or you have presence in a bunch of these different countries, like that e-invoicing and sending your invoices to the government is becoming a much more common requirement. So they keep expanding and adding on to that globalization studio, which again is built on the Dataverse, and making additions and changes there to support as all these countries kind of add these new requirements. So, if you're a global company, definitely take a look at what's going on in that section. You can see that there's a lot. I mean, the expansion for the Latin American countries is huge, right? So we're adding 6 more countries this year. So like, that's awesome. If you're a global company and looking to roll out in these different places.
I think we should also look at SMB because I'm sure Business Central has some interesting.
Their list is just as long as our F&O list. I did
scroll through got more Copilot than F&O got.
Yeah, they've got a couple.
They've got 2. Okay.
Yeah.
But they also have the Adapt Faster with Power Platform is another one that I've kept my eye on. So in wave 1 of this year, there was more support for, how like when you have an ERP, whether it's Business Central or F&O, you're going to have a test, a dev, a test, a UAT, and a production environment. And I think there was previously a platform limitation with BC where connecting to having the idea of the concept of a test Power App and then a prod Power App when it's related to your environment, connecting
Yeah, I get what you're
the
saying.
development experience was difficult. And I think a lot of that was addressed in Wave 1, but I think they're continuing to make it easier to use Power Platform inside.
Yeah.
They've actually made a bunch of, you can see support business events in Business Central Connector for Power Automate. So they've been adding a bunch more connectors to Power Automate.
I mean, they're even doing like, so I was looking through like what they're doing with the Excel add-in was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And just even in their like user experience, like getting a lot of like UI type changes, like things that we have in F&O to make it, you know, more streamlined and audit, like that idea of like personalization that's what we call it in F&O, but they've got a lot of stuff around that as well, which I'm sure for BC users is very exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, this list is so long. It's
and
so
then let's
hard.
not forget about the fact that there is an entire additional set of release notes for Power Platform.
Yeah, this is just the Dynamics 365 like release notes. So like if we go back to,
it's at the bottom there actually.
Oh, can you jump over?
Power Platform, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so there's like a whole nother section of just the stuff that we're doing in each of the individual apps. One of the exciting things that's coming is the license simplification. So they're simplifying the whole licensing model around Power Platform to make it easier to buy, which like that's a big deal. I mean, there's just so many things like Power Pages. We announced, it's probably been about a year, right, since we announced Power Pages. And Power Pages is just, it was really like a rebranding of Power Portals, but a lot of new functionality, lots of investments continue to happen in Power Pages. And you can
again, Copilot,
introducing Copilots all around. There's a Copilot, and I actually used it in, it was Power Automate that I used one.
Power Automate? I've used that too. It's so helpful. Like,
I don't remember.
Because there are so many things that feel really simple, but it was harder to do. Like, I had an Excel file with tasks in it, and I was like, I want to load this all at once into a planner board.
Yeah.
And I just went into Power Automate and I said, load the contents of an Excel file into Planner, and it was like, it was there. I mean, you have to do like a couple of tweaks, but it is very intelligent. I think kind of the only real limitations that I saw, or the biggest limitation, was that there are only certain connectors that it considers as part of the solution. Like
but
the
I expect
Microsoft
that's really going to grow over the next year. Like it's going to keep expanding and getting better. I like the one that I did that I was just like amazed by. Like I was making a Power Automate to connect to our GitHub repo for the business process guides. And because I had added all these custom fields into the issues, the way it formatted those custom fields was really strange. It wasn't even like standard JSON. And so I was trying to parse through that big giant string more or less. And I used the Copilot to say, how do I parse this out and get just this piece out of it? And I gave it a few samples and it gave me the right formula to consistently parse it out. And I was like, this is cool.
That's amazing.
And it made it so much easier. I would have been in there trying to figure out like how to like parse and concatenate. And I was just like, and it was just like, here you go, like in 10 seconds. And I was like, that's amazing.
So we only have 1 minute left, and there's two things that I think we should wrap this up with. First of all, I would love to remind people that the release planner exists. And I think if you just do aka.ms/release planner. Yeah, it'll drop you right into this tool. And you can use the release planner. It's all the same content that we just walked through that was in Docs article format, but you can do the exact same thing and find features, and then you can add them to your custom release plan and come back and watch them as they get updated and released. So if you don't know about this, I definitely recommend that you check it out. And then we are at time, but the second thing I want to remind people is that Fast Track does tech talks that cover in more depth for each product what is new. So keep an eye out in the coming weeks and months for more deep dive reviews on particular features and just kind of a summary recap for each product, what's been new in Dynamics. So
yeah. Maybe what
super
would be
excited.
great next week is like maybe we do a tour of the new community site and show people how to navigate around and find our tech talks and our blogs.
Maybe when
and
you're
sign
back
up.
from vacation, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us on Top of Mind. If you do have questions or there's specific features you want to hear more about, don't forget to like, comment, reach out to us however you want to reach out to us. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you next time on Top of Mind.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.